A soaring eagle is a majestic sight that provides us an impression of power and purpose. An eagle can average speeds of 30 miles per hour, gliding on thermal air currents that lesser birds cannot master. The eagle depends on keen and constant awareness to survive. Like an eagle, your survival at work demands the same keen and constant vigilance to be sure you go home in the same shape you were on arrival. Chances are you're pretty comfortable with your daily work routine, maybe too comfortable. Before you know it, your attention wanders, and without realizing it, you're headed toward an accident or incident. You might slip and fall, or be seriously injured by equipment or machinery. You might forget to take appropriate precautions, neglect to use protective equipment, or decide you can shortcut safety procedures. That's the danger of becoming too comfortable with your routine. You're not alert like an eagle. Safety awareness is a very important part of your job. It means always being alert as an eagle, constantly aware of your surroundings at all times, and ready to respond to the unexpected. It means protecting yourself by following safety procedures, wearing the correct protective equipment for the job, and being cautious around potentially hazardous substances. Being alert as an eagle is the best way to avoid on-the-job injuries. Some of the most common accidents are slips, trips, and falls. Here's something to think about. Falls account for about 10% of all workplace deaths and for 20% of all disabling on-the-job injuries. Factoring in lost times and insurance claims, the average cost to an employer for a slips, trips, and falls incident is $12,000. But slips, trips, and falls are easy to prevent if you're alert as an eagle. Slips happen when your foot slips out from under you, usually when there's a spill or when the surface is slick. If you spill something or notice a spill or leak, clean it up immediately. Always keep your eyes on your path. Look ahead to entrances or exits where water or snow might have left a puddle. When you're on a slippery surface, shorten your steps as you would on ice. Your shoes are much like the tires on your car. They provide traction. You wouldn't think about driving on ice with bald tires, so make sure your shoe soles are in good condition and appropriate for your workplace situation. A trip results from an object in your path stopping your foot. You may be able to catch yourself and recover, or you may fall. But if you're eagle-eyed, you're more likely to see obstacles in your path and avoid tripping. Ideally, it's best to eliminate slip and trip hazards entirely. Just follow good housekeeping practices. Chemicals, materials, tools, and equipment should always be kept in safe, designated storage areas when not in use. Keep your work area organized and clear of clutter, especially in high-traffic areas. Sweep scraps and debris, and remove trash as often as possible. Be alert and correct hazards, such as extension cords and curled or loose carpet. Uneven surfaces, slick spots, or any other situation that could cause a slip or fall should be reported to the appropriate person promptly. Your back is a column of small bones that can support an amazing amount of weight. But it can also create an amazing amount of pain if you use it incorrectly. Learn to think before you do anything to stress your back. It's important to maintain the gentle curves of your spinal column, in at the neck, out in the chest area, and in again at the lower back. Think of neutral posture as having a string tied to the crown of your head and suspended above you. This keeps your center of gravity between your legs and your vertebrae stacked right. Anytime you move out of neutral posture, it puts stress on your back. Lifting is a real back hazard. Before you lift anything, be sure it's not too heavy for you. If it is, get help. or use a mechanical device. Next, survey your route. Look for hazards like spills. Check for slanted or uneven surfaces. Route clear? Spine neutral? Safety mind on the job? You're ready to lift. If you decided the load is okay for you to lift, stop and stand close to the load. With firm footing, center your body. Keep both feet flat, knees bent slightly. Bend your hips a little and look up to keep the natural curve of your spine. Making sure the load is close to your body, let your legs do the lifting and not your back. You will naturally bend a little at your hips as you reach. That helps to hold your neutral spine position. Stop and think about how you can keep your neutral back curve while extending base support. It takes practice, but it's worth learning. Of course, the safest place to start a lift is from waist high. If the load is on the floor, drop one knee and start your lift. Never lean over from a straight leg standing position. If you're to set down at an angle from your lift, never twist your body while carrying a load. Move your feet to change direction. One more thing. Pulling a heavy object puts a serious strain on your back. It's much better to push than pull. Some of the materials you work with may be hazardous. That's why your employer has a hazard communication program in effect at your workplace. It'll inform you of the physical and health hazards of those materials. And it provides training for you to read and understand labels and safety data sheets. There are many different types of labels, but all include basic information, such as the identity of the chemical or chemical name, appropriate hazard warnings, for instance, whether the substance is flammable or corrosive, and the name and address of the manufacturer, importer, or other responsible party. Never remove a label without immediately replacing it with another, and never leave an unlabeled container of a hazardous substance unattended. Those labels let you handle hazardous materials safely, but you may want or need more information than they include. That's why you need to know where your employer keeps the Material Safety Data Sheets, or MSDSs, provided by chemical manufacturers or importers. MSDS formats vary, but all contain the same basic information on the product, its name, as well as an address and phone number for the manufacturer or importer. You'll also find details about hazards, storage and handling, exposure limits, and personal protective equipment, or PPE, required for working with it. An MSDS also outlines emergency response information, such as procedures for safely cleaning up spills. Chemicals aren't the only hazardous materials you might encounter in your workplace. If a coworker is injured, you could be exposed to bloodborne pathogens. They're diseases such as HIV, hepatitis B, or hepatitis C carried in the blood and other body fluids. The danger is that someone can be infected and not even know it. Be aware of the possible dangers before you rush to help an injured coworker, and take precautions to protect yourself. Remove the gloves from your first aid kit and put them on before approaching a bleeding person. If you can't get to the first aid kit, protect yourself with something leak-proof before you attempt to help the victim. Avoid getting blood or other body fluids on your skin, particularly around your nose, eyes, and mouth. Once the injured person has been taken care of, clean up the area. To avoid any possibility of infection, always wear leak-proof gloves. Depending on the situation, safety glasses, a mask, and an apron or smock may also be appropriate. Carefully remove contaminated items and dispose of them as directed by your supervisor. If you do get blood or body fluids on your skin, don't wait. Wash them off as soon as possible with a non-abrasive soap and water. If they've splashed into your eyes, flush them with running water. Then remove any clothes splashed with blood or body fluids and put them in a leak-proof bag for laundering. These precautions may seem like a lot of extra work for a minor injury, such as a small cut, but even tiny amounts of blood or body fluids may carry a dangerous, even deadly infection. So take precautions, not chances. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, can protect you from falling or flying objects, harsh chemicals, electricity, loud noises, and even air contaminants. There is PPE designed to protect different parts of your body, including your head, eyes, face, ears, hands, feet, and lungs. A hard hat is the best protection against blows to your head. Some are also designed for minimal protection against electric shock. Hard hats are made of two parts that work together. The shell protects your head from impact, while the suspension strap absorbs the force. But a hard hat won't protect you unless it fits properly. It shouldn't fall off if you bend over, and it shouldn't be tight enough to leave a mark on your head. Adjust the suspension as needed. There should be space between your head and the shell. That will allow air to circulate and provide cushioning so the suspension strap can do its job. An eagle's eyesight is 4 times that of a person with perfect vision. An eagle is able to spot danger and prey from over 3 miles away. Your eyes are equally important as you check for potential dangers at work to work safely. But you have to protect your eyes. They're incredibly delicate, and even the tiniest dust particle can cause extreme discomfort. Fumes, projectiles, splinters thrown off by welding, and contaminated particles in the air are just some of the hazards an industrial workplace can pose to your eyes. Eye protection is as varied as the tasks you do. Safety glasses or spectacles protect against impacts and may have wraparound lenses, side shields, and anti-fog coating, and are designed for indoor or outdoor work. Goggles fit your face snugly and seal off your entire eye area. They offer protection from impacts, chemical splashes, and sparks. Face shields protect you from nuisance dusts, sparks, splashes, or sprays of hazardous chemicals. However, safety spectacles, glasses, or goggles should always be worn with face shields to ensure full eye protection. Welding shields are specially made to protect your eyes and face from harmful light, sparks, and debris. For work with lasers, eyewear with special filter lenses is necessary. Always use filters with the correct rating for the welding or laser work you're doing. What you wear is determined by the tasks you perform. When working with chemicals, for instance, wear goggles that seal off the eye area. Your facility hazard analysis specifies protective eyewear for your particular job. Learn to use it correctly and always wear it. Your eyesight depends on it. A word of warning: regular eyeglasses are not considered adequate protection, and contacts may not be allowed in certain circumstances. Check your facility rules and follow them exactly. Being alert like an eagle means you need to protect your hearing from possible damage. Hearing loss occurs so gradually over time that you might not even be aware it's happening until it's too late. But you can take precautions to prevent that. Hearing PPE consists of earmuffs or earplugs. Earmuffs cover your entire ear and form a seal against your head. Be careful of hair clips, glasses, and earrings, and even your own hair, that can break the seal and undermine the earmuff's effectiveness. Earplugs fit inside your ear and are often made of soft foam. To insert them, roll each one up tightly, pull your ear up and back, then place the plug inside. Hold it for a few seconds until it expands to fill your ear. Disposable earplugs should be discarded after use, but permanent types need to be washed frequently. The eagle's long and broad wingspan enables it to glide over currents of air. We all rely on clean air in the workplace to do our jobs. Sometimes the air we breathe can carry invisible hazards. It may be contaminated with toxic particles, gases, vapors, fumes, or mists. Or it may be oxygen deficient. If your work area is either contaminated or oxygen deficient, you must wear a respirator. There are several types, but they basically fall into 2 categories. Air purifying respirators filter out contaminants before you breathe them in, and supplied air respirators provide fresh air from an external source. You should wear the right respirator for your workplace environment, and before you're required to wear one on the job, you'll be fit tested and trained in its proper use. Then, before using any respirator, inspect it carefully for holes, tears, or missing parts. When you take it off, clean and store it away from sunlight, dust, moisture, and chemicals. Hands are exposed to all sorts of hazards in the workplace. That's why your employer looks at the hazards you face and provides gloves to protect your hands. For driving or handling various materials, you might need leather, cotton, or wool gloves. Rubber, neoprene, or synthetic gloves are effective against chemicals or electricity, while temperature-resistant gloves are appropriate for work involving welding, heat, or rough surfaces. If you handle sharp objects, cut-resistant wire mesh gloves afford effective protection. But never wear gloves, loose clothing, or jewelry when working on moving machinery. If a glove, ring, bracelet, or loose sleeve gets caught, it can pull your hand in too. Even your feet are vulnerable to all sorts of dangers at work. There are several types of foot protection, so always use the one that offers protection for your particular hazards. Electrical hazard footwear prevents shocks, while basic steel-toed shoes or boots protect against injury from objects falling or rolling over your feet. Guards are also available for the toe, instep, heel, ankle, shin, and metatarsal area. If you work with water, chemicals, oil, or grease, you may need rubber or plastic boots. Follow your employer's hazard analysis recommendations. By recognizing the hazards, you really can protect yourself from head to toe. Know your facility's policies for the use of PPE and never substitute the wrong PPE for the hazard. Your safety depends on it. Improper lockout-tagout procedures result in many industrial injuries and even deaths today. Don't become a statistic. Always follow the standard 6-step procedure whenever you perform machinery maintenance or service. Step 1. Prepare for shutdown. Identify the type or types of energy in use. Electricity may not be the only one. Check for hydraulic, pneumatic, or pressurized steam. Understand the hazards of each and how to control them. Step 2. Shut down the equipment. That might be as simple as turning a switch, or it might involve a more complex process. But always follow your facility lockout-tagout procedures. Step 3. Isolate the equipment from every energy source. Close all valves, then throw main disconnects and circuit breakers. Step 4. Apply lockout-tagout devices to each energy isolating device. Never remove or bypass another person's lockout device or tag. Step 5. Control stored energy. Be absolutely certain that you relieve, disconnect, or restrain any residual hazardous energy that might be present. Finally, Step 6. Verify isolation of equipment. Double-check to make sure you have in fact shut down the equipment, isolated all power sources, applied locks and/or tags, and controlled any stored energy. Clear the area and test to make sure the right system is locked out and inoperable. Only then can you begin working on the equipment. When you're finished, be sure the system is operationally intact. Clear the area of all non-essential items and notify affected employees that you're bringing the system back online. Then remove all locks and tags. There are few things as frightening or destructive as a fire. Prevention is always the best defense, but it's also important to know what to do if one starts. Fire needs 4 elements to burn: fuel, oxygen, an ignition source, and a chemical reaction. There's not much you can do about oxygen. It's in the air all around us. But you can minimize the hazards of flammable substances by storing them correctly and cleaning up any spills right away. Dispose of your cleanup materials properly and always maintain tight control of possible ignition sources. Should a fire start, you can probably put out a small one quickly and prevent its spread. Most people immediately think dousing a fire with water will put it out. That could actually be the worst thing to do. Some materials react violently with water. All fires are not alike. There are different types or classes based on their fuels or heat sources. A Class A fire is the most common. It's fueled by ordinary flammable solids, such as wood, paper, or cloth. Water is very effective at fighting a Class A fire. A Class B fire is fueled by liquids or gases, such as gasoline, kerosene, propane, or grease. Since those fuels are often water insoluble, dousing the flames with water can actually spread the fire. A Class C fire is often called an electrical fire. It starts in appliances, switches, panel boxes, and power tools. Water should never be used on this type of fire. It's an electrical conductor and poses a serious risk of electrocution to nearby people. A Class D fire involves certain metals that burn at very high temperatures. These types of fires react violently, even explosively, when exposed to water. Obviously, it's important to know what kind of fire it is before you try to put it out. There are several types of fire extinguishers: carbon dioxide, water, foam, dry chemical, and dry powder. Each works a particular way to break the chain reaction that causes a fire to burn. Water extinguishers work by cooling the fuel so it can't burn. They should only be used on Class A fires. Foam extinguishers are appropriate for Class A or Class B fires. The foam cools too, but it primarily works by cutting off oxygen to the flames. Dry chemical extinguishers work by starving flames of oxygen, but they have no cooling properties. They are best for Class A, B, or C fires. Dry powder extinguishers absorb heat and are only used for Class D fires, the ones with very high ignition temperatures. Each fire extinguisher has a faceplate that clearly lists the classes of fire it's designed for. You can use most fire extinguishers the same way. Just remember PASS, P-A-S-S. First, pull the safety pin. Then, aim the nozzle at the base of the flames. Squeeze the handle and sweep back and forth, covering the base of the fire. But if the fire is too big or is reported in another part of the building, you may need to evacuate. Whether it's prompted by a fire or some other emergency, good evacuation plans are the difference between life and death. If you're told to evacuate, never assume it's a drill, and don't try to finish whatever you're doing. Just leave immediately. If someone needs assistance, try to help, but get out as quickly as you can. Know your evacuation routes and the location of emergency exits well. Depending on the situation, you might have to find your way to safety in near zero visibility. If, for instance, a power outage plunges your building into total darkness, or a fire fills it with thick smoke. When the evacuation signal is given, go to your assigned place of refuge. Report to your assembly point promptly so everyone can be accounted for as soon as possible. As you can see, getting too comfortable in a daily routine can lead to a tragic accident. To be safe at work, don't become complacent. Instead, learn to be alert and aware as an eagle, constantly on the lookout for danger. Pay attention to your surroundings. Be alert and respond appropriately to workplace hazards. Eliminate them if you can. Otherwise, understand their risks and minimize them by following safety procedures or wearing the right personal protective equipment. Familiarize yourself with emergency and evacuation procedures so that you'll never be caught unprepared. Your workplace can be as safe as you make it, yet accident and injury can happen in an instant if you become complacent or let your attention wander. The eagle's best defense against danger is his constant vigilance. It's yours, too.